Back for another Flagship City Sports Talk brought to you by Quick Fill. My name is Nick Artman, and I'm joined by Mr. Clean, Paul Adamczak. Paul, how you doing this morning?
Not bad, not bad. Feeling very green this morning, so we're doing well.
I did this by mistake. If you're watching the stream, we're both wearing we're actually all wearing green in studio today. This was not coordinated. This was just very much what was on the floor of my bedroom this morning.
This was just all the luck of the Irish?
But and in the big chair, we have the great and powerful Rich Smith. Rich, how's it going, man?
It is going well. Other than the fact that, we had a beautiful weekend and we got up and we're like, we got to scrape again?
Oh, gosh. It wasn't even like, it was beautiful over the weekend, and then it wasn't even like the ice that's easy to scrape off. You get like that sheen of ice that you just have to wait for. That was awful. But like you said, Rich, we're looking out here on State Street down here at the Talk Erie Studios, and we expected a little more chaos here Monday morning being St. Patrick's Day, and we're not getting much here. So
I sent you guys a text last night saying there might be a little bit of a challenge parking tomorrow.
I parked right out front.
I know.
This is great. So
there aren't as many establishments this far down on State Street anymore.
And I feel like people probably got their partying out
Saturday
and Sunday.
Yeah.
It's a long weekend.
People got to go back
to
we have
3 days in a row.
People walk in with, funky hats and whatnot up and down the street.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of partying over the weekend, we welcome in the IP, Isaac Petcash. Isaac, down in West Virginia, hanging out with Gannon men's team, and they have a lot to celebrate this weekend. We'll get into that. Isaac, how's it going, buddy?
Guys, I'm so sorry I didn't get the green trend. I honestly just put on the first article of clothing that I could find. I think, gentlemen, I have made the decision that I'm going to apply to be a tour guide in West Virginia.
Okay.
Because I have been in this great state now for 3 straight weeks, and it has been wonderful, but I didn't realize that this state covered that much territory. I figured you just kind of drive through it in passing. So I've learned something new every day with this.
I think the only problem with that business plan is not many people are visiting and touring West Virginia.
That's a fair point. Although I will say, driving up to West Liberty, which is about where we're at in Wheeling here, there is this mansion on top of a hill a few miles away. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
like I've never seen anything like this. So it's
you know how much it cost you?
What's that?
You know how much it cost you?
What's that?
$50. That's how much that mansion would cost in West Virginia.
You're going to start
maybe
getting
50,
stuff
maybe
from
51
the West Virginia Visitors Bureau.
Exactly all around. Listen, come at me, West Virginia. I'm fine with that. I won't even get into that. All right, because we got a lot we got to get into today. Hey, listen, we gave away free Otters tickets last week, and we got some more giveaways. What kind of giveaways going on today? We started an ESPN men's tournament challenge. We created a bracket for Gem City Sports Network. Head over to socials, Facebook, X, Instagram. You can sign up for free to join our men's tournament challenge through ESPN. The winner of the men's NCAA bracket tournament challenge will win some free swag courtesy of Faulkner's. So make sure you head over there, head to socials, sign up, click the link, join the tournament, compete against us. You'll lose, but compete against us, and we'll have some fun along the way. So again, head over to socials, join our ESPN men's tournament bracket challenge for a chance at some free swag.
Guys, I don't think West Virginia this state wants to talk a lot about the tournament.
Dude, did you see?
I will say that.
Oh, yeah.
I saw this morning the governor wants to sue the NCAA because they didn't make the tournament. Listen, I'm here for that. Let's bring it in, West Virginia. All right, that's enough. Let's get into the North Shore Rewind. All right, so what we wanted to do today was we wanted to I want to wrap up unfortunately, the D10 run in the PIAA tournament has ended. And let me just kind of run down through these. Starting with McDowell, Upper St. Clair edged McDowell 51-49 in an overtime Saturday night win at Slippery Rock University. Just kind of a heartbreaker for the McDowell team. I really think they had a chance at states, and it was just an unfortunate overtime bounce in that one. At Slippery Rock University on Friday, North Catholic defeated Cathedral Prep boys 78-75, another overtime game, rallying late to punch their ticket to the next round of the state playoffs. Unfortunately, both boys teams from District 10 fall there. Berks Catholic pulled away in the second half to secure a 67-58 victory over Sharon. I'm sorry, Sharon's boys team in the PIAA Class 4A boys basketball state tournament Friday night at Huntington High School. And then last but not least, also at Slippery Rock University on Saturday, Peters Township just suffocated Cathedral Prep winning 35-25 in their bracket. So those were the last 4 remaining teams, and it's kind of tough to see them go, but all put up fights in the end and just couldn't pull it off. So congratulations to all those teams involved. Where we want to kind of wrap up our D10 basketball coverage is we want to give our players of the year on both the boys and the girls side. And okay, Rich is looking at me. Don't do that to me. There's shenanigans abound here this morning. But let's start off with the boys. And we kind of all talked a little bit pre-show, and there is a clear-cut winner on both the boys and the girls side. And starting on the boys side, Avery Collins, Erie First Christian's Avery Collins puts together a dominant junior season, just averaging 27.6 a games. He had elite shooting, clutch performances, record-setting nights. I mean, there's no doubt that this kid is our D10 Boys Player of the Year.
You mentioned that he led District 10 in points at 27.6 per game. He also led District 10 in three-pointers made with 84 and total points, 635 on the season, which was first by a margin of 73 points. So you're looking at 2, maybe 3 more games by second place to match that season point total. So a junior. He'll be back next year. Looking to dominate again.
Isaac, you've been around the district for a long time. Have you picked up on anyone that's had maybe a better season than Collins? I think this is maybe the best boys season that I have ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. I think Collins is certainly the MVP because of just how great of a shooter he is and how he's always seems to be open. I'll tell you what, though, I really like what Kenny Godoy did too over at Girard. So the team that lost a lot of guys from last season. Mark Schreier talked about before the year, were they going to be as good and whatnot? They still went undefeated in region play. They still had a chance to make a run in the postseason. And Kenny's going to be back next year as well. So I think he, to me, would be one of the closest guys. But no, Avery's certainly deserving. And like we talked about, and we're going to talk about with our girls player of the year too, juniors. And so they get to be back next year. So there's a lot to look forward to next year on the boys side specifically.
We'll see if they can double down. Paul, did you have another maybe honorable mention you wanted to throw in?
Ravion Wilbon Venable from Kennedy Catholic, actually, technically the second leading scorer, only played in 19 games. But I did want to mention Nathan Greer from Grove City. Averaged better than 20 points per game. He's a senior. Wanted to add a senior to the list. Made more 2-point shots than anyone. Only hit 3 shots from beyond the arc, but 230 from inside the post. So a dominant big man. Grove City went on quite a run at the end of the season, and Nathan Greer was the reason why.
I'm going to throw out one more, and if you look at the total points scored, he's not in the top 5, but Camden Kramer from McDowell High School really stood out to me.
Another great one, yeah.
And maybe there's some playoff bias here, but I just think that his leadership ability on the court has really kind of showed through that team. When he fired up, the rest of the team was fired up as well. He's no slouch, 491 points across 28 games, so he's able to put up points, but his leadership and defensive ability, I think, really stood out to me. All right. Jumping over to the girls' side of things, again, there's a clear-cut winner here. I mean, no surprise. Northwestern junior Michaela Presser-Palmer is our girls' player of the year this year. She puts up 736 points, led all scorers in both total points and points per game with 28.3. She dropped a 40-burger in a playoff game versus Avonworth. I felt like we just talked about her and deservedly so.
Yes.
We talked about her every week.
Yep. You mentioned first in points, total points and points per game, also first in District 10 and total made shots, 274 field goals made. Did you notice both of our players of the year, both juniors?
Yeah. I can't wait to see if they top it next year.
Yeah, that's incredible. But I think if you were to ask me the player of the year overall, boys and girls, I think MPP would be my player of the year.
Oh, 100%, hands down.
Yeah.
IP, how say you?
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. I mean, she is just so dominant, and we saw in the District 10 playoffs and even the first round of state playoffs, teams were triple teaming her. Didn't matter. She can drive. She can pull up. She can shoot the 3. She's going to be a Division I basketball player, and I think a potential high-end Division I basketball player. She's that good. She has all the talent. And Steve Sawin is a coach that likes to pride himself on defense and likes to, again, possessions, maybe try to elongate them a little bit on offense. He just let Michaela have the ball down the stretch. That's how good she is. And she's, man, the fact that she has one more year. if I'm a team competing against Northwestern next year, I would start prepping for her now. And
Yeah.
Hit the weight
tomorrow
room.
and the next day,
Yep.
and don't sleep tonight or the next day. Just keep prepping for her. She was awesome.
The next 300 days. Let me throw out another honorable mention here. Another D1 recruit, Addie Bill from Cathedral Prep. She was amazing this year. 522 points, 21.8 points per game. Had a season high 33 points versus Warren. Just a steady offensive powerhouse through every game. And she showed up in the playoffs too. It was a tough heartbreak loss for them. But she's kind of my honorable mention. Paul, you got one?
I do. I want to talk about Lake Fields out of Kennedy Catholic. Third in District 10 in scoring this year at 22.3 points per game. Listen to the career numbers, guys. Two-time PIAA champion, finished second place in the PIAA one time, four-time District 10 champion, four-time region champion, an overall record of 96-16 in her 4 years, including 26-2 in the playoffs, and that includes the state championship game, one of those losses. 55-0 in her region over the course of 4 years. This is more of a career player thing, but Lake Fields, very, very good.
She's good. Isaac, we got 60 seconds. You got one more?
I've got two quick ones. They're both from Region 6 because they played each other so many times and they were great players. Bree Height from Fairview, who went over 1,000 points this season, was really dominant inside and a great defensive player for Aaron Garrity and the Tigers. Then Brooke Prisbilski from Harbor Creek, who really took over in that District 10 championship game to lift the Huskies over the Tigers. Those two had a lot of great battles as well. Region 6 was fun to watch this year, and it was great to see those two go at it. And they're just two consistent players that I really liked from this season.
Yeah, a lot of great players coming through this year. Basketball was a lot of fun to cover. High school basketball may be over, but we still have some college hoops to get into. We will get into both Edinboro and Gannon performance in the Atlantic Regionals when we come back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quickfill. Welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quickfill. IP's throwing me off on the stream. I went to go click some buttons, and it was happening before I clicked it. That's why he's the IP. That's why he's the intellectual property taking care of us here this morning.
I never thought of that one before.
Oh, listen, I'm wittier than you might think.
Every now and again.
Every once in a while, I have a good one. Not very often, if you ask my kids. But again, I want to highlight real quick. Go and find us on social media. Sign up for free to join our ESPN's Men's Tournament Bracket Challenge. Compete against us. Compete against the guys to see if you can beat us in some bracketology. And then if you win the bracket, you get some free swag courtesy of
I've spent all morning working, so it's going to be tough to beat.
I'm just saying. I'm just going to pick my pretty colors.
That's what my wife will do, and she'll end up beating me too. So
All right. Speaking of college basketball, I do want to get into some tournament talk. But before we do, Mr. Clean, you want to hit us with a 2-minute drill?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
All right, let's start off with the Erie Otters. They topped the Guelph Storm 6-4 on Sunday. Sam Alfano netted the game winner, marking his 40th goal of the season. Erie coach Chris Millette returned from that 5-game suspension, during which the Otters went 3-2. Erie now holds a record of 33, 26, 4, and 2, with 3 games remaining before their expected Robertson Cup playoff series against Saginaw. Back to high school basketball, North Catholic rallied past Prep 78-75 in overtime after overcoming a 12-point deficit in the boys' 5A quarterfinals. Nando Marachi scored 28 for Prep, hitting all 11 of his free throws and a late 3 to cut the final margin. McDowell nearly upset Upper St. Clair, but fell 51-49 in overtime. Blaze Myers led the Trojans with 17 points, while Stephen Porter added 11, including a clutch basket to force overtime. McDowell had a chance to win in the final seconds, but a block shot and a late dunk ended their run. Cathedral Prep's girls' season also ended with a 35-25 loss to Peters Township in the PIAA 5A quarterfinals. The Ramblers trailed by just 4 points midway through the fourth quarter before 6'3" Miami commit Natalie Wetzel's three-pointer shifted momentum for Peters. Addie Beal led Prep with 9 points, finishing her career with 1,423, second in program history. Cathedral Prep's girls swim team finished second at the PIAA 2A meet over the weekend, falling to Mount Pleasant 189-173, despite winning 2 relay golds. Maria Casa earned 2 golds, a silver, and a bronze in her final meet. Prep's boys placed third after a disqualification in the 400 free relay, finishing with 137 points. And finally, Auburn earned the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament after a 28-5 season and a SEC regular season title. Duke, Houston, and Florida claim the other top seeds. Tennessee, Michigan State, Alabama, and St. John's are the 2s. North Carolina and Texas made the field, while West Virginia and Indiana missed out. Auburn's John Brom leads the Tigers as they chase their first NCAA title.
The West Virginia governor suing the NCAA because they didn't make the tournament.
Well, did you see? So North Carolina only had 1 Quad 1 win this season. West Virginia has 6 Quad 1 wins. Did you see who the commissioner is of the bracketology thing?
No.
It just happens to be North Carolina's athletic director.
You should have heard the fans.
Rigged.
You should have heard the West Liberty fans in the building last night and some of their athletic administrators. Oh, they were not pleased. They were not very
That's
happy.
putting it nicely, yeah.
Everyone was around 6:30, everyone was collectively looking at your phones, and you just heard a big groan from the audience. And there wasn't a basketball game that was being played, so you just knew. You're like, uh-oh, something bad happened. At least
I feel like a lot of the major outlets are usually pretty politically correct when they come to this stuff.
Yeah.
Boy, it was a tough loss for West Virginia. North Carolina. No, they were not. They're like, this is bogus. This is the most rigged thing in history. They were not like letting it go. It was hilarious.
No, we weren't pulling punches there. Hey, speaking of college basketball, let's get into the campus corner. Now, before you Gannon fans go get in my mentions, we are going to lead with Edinboro women's basketball here. And yes, I know both Gannon teams are in it, but I wanted to give some love to the Edinboro women's basketball team just because I think this was an amazing story, maybe the most unexpected story. And I mean that truly as no disrespect to head coach Callie Wheeler and the Edinboro team, but more of, their Edinboro has gone through a lot over the last few years in terms of integration with other universities and what's going to be happening. And, there's been a lot of negative chatter to come out of Edinboro. And I think to overcome all of that, to recruit a team in today's bracket, or in today's bracket, I got brackets on the mind, in today's college athletics, I think what Callie Wheeler and that team has been able to do is nothing short of amazing. And on Friday, They did advance in the NCAA Atlantic Regional behind an offensive attack with 5 players in double figures. The women's basketball team defeats Virginia State 80-67 to advance to the regional semifinals. Unfortunately, Edinburgh fell to IUP in the semifinal on Saturday. They saw their season come to an end in that semifinal, falling 67-52 to IUP. So I wanted to give them some love at the top here just because I think, again, it's a unique story. They had a heck of a run this year. And I think, Paul, let me come to you first.
Sure.
What do you think stood out most with Edinburgh's women's team this year?
Over the course of the season?
Yeah, or whatever you want to hit. What was the most, unique
Well, I was
aspect
prepared
of
to talk about the game.
Go for it. Go
Over
for
the
the
course
game.
of the
Go for the
season, I think is what you said, just the ability to kind of come out of nowhere, to actually surpass the Gannon women's team, who was the preemptive preseason favorite, certainly in the PSAC West.
Yeah.
And then they were able to host the Atlantic Regional, so the huge get for the Edinburgh women. I think for the game, what stood out to me most was Edinburgh actually led in this game 28-18 in the second quarter, and they led after 3, 42-41. So you look at that and go, the final was 67-52.
Yeah.
That means IUP won a 25-11 fourth quarter rally, which was defensive collapse is the first thing that comes to my mind. Absolutely incredible quarter by IUP. They're going to play Gannon, I believe, tonight, 7 o'clock out at Edinburgh. A deserving team, a good team that was a good team throughout the season. But I think that fourth quarter was just, I don't know if the Scots just ran out of gas after a season in which they finished 25-7 overall, maybe a bit overachieving. But Morgan Gentile, Haley Sims, Ashton Boggs, each went in double figures for the Scots, laying it all on the line in that game for Coach Callie Wheeler, who's done just a tremendous job filling in for after the retirement of Stan Swank. Tough to see him go down on their own home court after leading through 3 quarters, but heck of a performance, heck of a season.
Yeah. Now, Isaac, you had a chance this season specifically to really go in depth with D2 basketball. And I mean, I know you're down in West Virginia covering the men's bracket, but what has stood out to you that's made this maybe Edinburgh team so special?
I'll say this. I actually think that, this wasn't as a surprise for me as I think many would have thought. And I say that as somebody who works with Gannon and, of course, covers our basketball teams and our student athletes. And, again, the rivalry that Gannon has with Edinburgh. But I think Callie Wheeler's done a tremendous job, to Paul's point. This team made it really difficult on other teams to implement their strategy. They spread the floor really well. They had a shooter in Haley Sims who could post up from 3. Boggs and Gentile could drive the basketball. And I think what you saw this season from the Fighting Scots was the breakout that you thought was going to happen maybe the season before and the season before that. They had came off of 2 straight 17-win seasons, and this year it really came all together. And they're a bad quarter away from being in the game tonight against Gannon, and then you feel really confident because you had swept the Golden Knights this season. So I think for Edinburgh, this is a sign of things to come. I know that this team is very much going to be in the conversation in years to come for PSAC and Atlantic Regional Championships. And again, a credit to them for the amazing job that they did, and Callie Wheeler and the coach that she is. This is going to be a really tough team to beat in years to come for sure.
And I think it'll be even easier for them to recruit coming into next year. I think they're going to be just as deadly coming back next year, especially if Callie Wheeler's still at the helm. So congratulations to the girls team. I know that's a weird thing to say because they're not playing tonight, but I mean that as respectful as possible. It was just an impressive run, and unfortunately just couldn't make that last quarter pay off. When we get back, we are going to talk about the Gannon women's and men's team, but before we take our next break, I want to take a second and thank all of our sponsors: Quick Fill, Jobber Auto Supply, John's Wildwood Pizza, Denny's Sales and Service. Without them, we wouldn't be here for you. Like I said, when we get back, let's get into the Atlantic Regional recap from the Gannon perspective. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill.
If you turn
Welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. We're having a clumsy morning here this morning, but, we'll blame it on the shenanigans.
Right.
Leprechauns. Wait, P.S., when did it become a thing that you have to set traps for leprechauns or they're going to steal your money and, it's like Christmas or the Tooth Fairy. You have to do something else now
I've never
for
heard
your
of this.
kids? My kids came home last week and they were like, hey, can we build a trap for the leprechaun? Can we do this so it doesn't do this? So they leave this and we get candy or we get gifts. Whoa!
So they don't steal your money? Do these traps work for the IRS?
Save that for
Asking for a friend.
save that for Talk Erie at 3 p.m.
Right.
Oh gosh, I need one less thing for my kids, not one more thing. But we do have some shenanigans we do want to talk about. And that is happening tonight at 7 p.m. But before we get there, let's talk about how they got there. The Gannon's women ball. See,
Women
I told
ball.
you, shenanigans abound this morning. Oh, gosh. The Gannon Golden Knights punched their ticket to the NCAA D2 Atlantic Regional Championship game with back-to-back wins over Fayetteville State and Seton Hill, fueled by their defense, rebound, and clutch fourth-quarter performances. Guys, Gannon's defense, I mean, we've talked about this. We know this. Cleve Wright is an amazing defensive-minded coach, and they are dominant on that side of the ball every year. And that held true over the weekend. They held Fayetteville State to just 25.9% shooting and limited them for a 1 for 18 mark beyond the arc in a 60-50 quarterfinal win. And then they come back controlling the boards against Seton Hill, and just clutch performances from Bree Claxon. Had 17 against Fayetteville, and then 18 versus Seton Hill. This team just seems to be rolling. IP, I'm going to come to you first, just being our Gannon expert. This team seems like they are on a roll after the first two games.
And the great thing about it, too, is how quickly they rebounded after their PSAC semifinal loss to Kutztown.
Yeah.
Again, Kutztown's a really, really good team, but I don't think it necessarily was the best performance from Gannon. I'll tell you what, the rule of thumb around the university is you never doubt Cleve Wright in big games.
Facts.
And this is why. He has his team dialed in. And we saw twice now, both in the quarters against Fayetteville and in the semis against Seton Hill, the fourth quarter was their best quarter, without a doubt. This was a Gannon team, especially in Saturday's game, that had struggled a little bit offensively from the field. There were times they were trailing, and then in the fourth quarter, they pull away. And as good as the defense was, the offense in those games, all four of them against Seton Hill, carried them to the tune of 80 points. You take a look at Bree Claxton. I think Kate Ratliff is, of course, the underrated performer of this team.
Yep.
She led scores with 20, or Gannon scores with 21 in the game on Saturday. And I think you're also starting to see some of the bench as well make a couple of big plays. Andrea Maybaugh, who's trying to get herself back to the form she was from last season. She had a couple of big buckets down the stretch. Carissa Dunham hit a couple of big threes in the game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight. But I'll tell you what, this Gannon women's team under Cleve Wright, they don't lose a lot of big games. That's been the case for decades upon decades. And I think that's going to be the case again, as it certainly has been the case this season and maybe tonight as well. We'll see.
Well, let's talk about tonight's game. With a second straight trip to the Elite Eight on the line, the Gannon women's basketball team now prepares for a showdown against IUP tonight at 7 p.m. at the Macomb Fieldhouse in Edinboro. The team split their regular season meetings, each winning on the other's home court. Gannon rallied late to win 61-54 in January, while IUP took hold 73-66 in their win in February. So this game looks to be tight. It's going to be a great game. Make sure you get out to Edinboro tonight at 7 p.m. But, Paul, what's your key to the game for the Gannon women tonight?
Boy, you kind of stole my stat that they were 1-1 against each other on each other's floor, and they've each scored 127 points against each other in their two matchups against each other this season. So they're going to play on a neutral site. Gannon has won 7 of their last 8. IUP coming off that win against number 1 seed Edinboro. This is a super intriguing matchup. Obviously, defense is going to be the name of the day. Defense wins championships. So throw out the names. The team that plays better defensively and has fewer turnovers wins this game. Yep. Gannon just so happens to be very, very good at both of those things.
Yep. I'm planning on putting the kids to bed and heading over to Edinboro for this game tonight.
I love that.
If you guys want to join. Moving from the women's side, and again, good luck tonight to Cleve Wright and the team. it's going to be a lights out game. Make sure, again, you get out to Edinburgh 7 p.m. to check that out. But the women are not the only team advancing in the Atlantic Regional. On the Gannon men's side, they're rolling through the NCAA D2 Atlantic Regional, extending their winning streak to 11 games with dominant back-to-back victories. The Golden Knights first took down East Stroudsburg 99-74 and then followed it up with a 92-66 rout of Virginia State to advance to the regional championship game against top-seeded West Liberty. Paul, I'm coming to you first this time. There does not seem to be much of a setback, or a step back, I should say, from last year's departure of head coach Jordan Fee. Bozzoli has this team rolling. The offense is still playing dominant teams, and again, rotating 10-plus players every game. Yep. They're just rolling through these teams. I mean, how special is this team?
Very, very special, and I think we got to go back to when Jordan Fee was right on these airwaves with us, and he said that the first thing he did when he got hired was he hired Easton Bozzoli to be an assistant. And then the last thing he did before he left was made sure Gannon named Easton Bozzoli their next head coach. Yep. So thank you, Jordan Fee, for another one. Moving forward to tomorrow night, rather. Really, really interesting matchup. As you mentioned, both these teams run the same style of offense. They're both going to put 10, 11 guys in the game and then just absolutely go out there and sprint one end of the floor to the other, gas the guy out, 5 in, 5 out, and it's just going to be a high brand of just fast-moving, like very modern basketball. West Liberty, very, very good at it. I don't know if you mentioned or not, the last time that they played each other, Gannon defeated West Liberty 103-88 in last year's regional semifinals. So two teams that are familiar with each other. And I think the biggest difference is going to be this year, basically the rosters. Gannon, a lot of turnover from last year into this year, but more or less the same results. Ending up in these semifinals, it's going to be a very, very intriguing matchup. And I know IP gets to watch the game in person.
Yeah, you've been there all weekend. You've seen this whole tournament. So, IP, from your perspective, what's been the biggest key to Gannon's success in the tournament so far?
I think it's been their defense. This is going to sound ridiculous, but their defense has actually been the reason I think that they've won a lot of these games. They struggled in 2 of their last 3 games to get out of the chute really, really quickly. They trailed by 20 to Millersville. That was obvious in the PSAC semis. They trailed by double digits to East Stroudsburg in the first half of the game on Saturday. But when that defense starts working, and I want to make a distinction, I think they're actually a better defensive team this year than they were last year, even though their press isn't necessarily as incredibly effective as it was last season. They're more sound end-to-end on the floor, and what you're seeing is they're getting a lot more blocks, a lot more missed shots that they force from in tight against teams. And we saw that yesterday against Virginia State. Tasman Goodrick had a couple of big blocks. Ernest Shelton blocked a couple of shots. And then their transition game is really, really good. Justin DeBuck, after coming back from injury earlier in the season, has been tremendous at the point guard position. He can shoot the ball. He can dish the ball. He does it all. And I think when you got guys like Ernest Shelton, who put up a career-high 32 in the game yesterday, Pace Prosser, a freshman who has just continued to shoot the lights out of the gym, he had a huge day in the game in the win against East Stroudsburg on Saturday. They can rotate the ball to a lot of guys. I will say this. Paul made a good point. These are 2 teams that, of course, run what's called the system, which is the Jim Crutchfield system that's currently at Nova Southeastern, the legendary Division II head coach. I think when you look at this game tomorrow night, the key for Gannon is going to be keep it close until the end. The reason I say that is because I think when you look at the 2 rosters, Gannon's top 5 players, I think, have the ability to match up well with West Liberty's top 5 players. If Gannon can stay in the game, can keep it close, and get to the under 4-minute media timeout within 4 or 5 points, and you got to put your best 5 on the floor, I think Easton Bozzoli likes his chances. But this has just been a team that's been brooding confidence. I mean, even when they've been down double digits in games, you never feel like they're out of it. And that's been something that I really think has been something to appreciate for Coach Bozzoli and the Golden Knights team. They're excited. It's going to be a heck of a game. This is really the game that everyone expected was going to be for the regional title at the beginning of the season, and now it's here, and the Golden Knights get to march into enemy territory. It's going to be a hostile environment tomorrow night, but I don't think Coach Bozzoli and the squad would have it any other way.
Now, do you think, should we be more concerned about Gannon's slow starts to the tournament, or should we just be maybe at peace because of their ability to storm back?
I would be concerned tomorrow night if they get behind double digits. I'm not sure West Liberty's a team that you want to get behind that much in a game that early, but I do think that they have an ability to make a comeback. I would say the slow start is more so a lack of their shooting ability in the first half for some reason, as compared to the second half. They're shooting so much better in the second half than the first half. But yeah, you definitely don't want to get behind against West Liberty that much, and I'm not sure that that's going to be the case tomorrow.
So that game against West Liberty tomorrow night, 7 p.m.?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock tomorrow night. Isaac will be there. Follow along as Gannon faces off against West Liberty. So we got the women's team tonight, 7 p.m. in Edinburgh. The men's team in West Virginia at West Liberty at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. A lot of basketball coming through. Again, make sure you follow us on social media. Join our ESPN Men's Tournament Bracket Challenge. That's it for us for basketball today, but we're not done. We have a quarterback to try and figure out where they're coming from, because the Steelers seem to just have no answer to their quarterback problem. We'll get into that when we get after the break. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quickfill.
John's Wildwood.
Welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quickfill. Listen, if you missed it again, I'm going to just keep saying it. The Gem City Sports Network, we've started our own ESPN Men's Tournament Challenge over on ESPN. To get in, it's 100% free. Just head over to our social media sites, Facebook, X, Instagram, the link.
Actually, Nick, it's 1,000% free.
I'm just making sure. Thanks for that fact check there. But if you do win, I can 1,000% guarantee that you get some free swag, courtesy of the Gem City Sports Network as well, and Faulkner Screen Printing. Screen Printing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Woo! Had that name. I didn't want to blow that
Nailed
one
it.
for you guys. So
Nailed it.
Yeah, courtesy of Faulkner. So get in, head over to social, click the link, join our ESPN Men's Tournament Challenge. And you got to get in by Thursday, because the bracket will close once the first game kicks off on Thursday at 12:15 p.m. Eastern. So get in early, get your picks in, and see if you can beat us in the bracketology. All right. Enough about basketball. Let's get into the Rust Belt rundown. Now, guys, I think if you could, choose one word to describe me, I think it would be level-headed.
Is that two words?
But it's hyphenated. I think it's hyphenated. It might be hyphenated. I don't know.
I would say Nick, I would say 1,000% level.
Thank you. Yeah, level-headed. It's hyphenated. That's still considered one. Anyway, what is going on in Pittsburgh? The Steelers have no answer at quarterback right now, and they have not had one since the departure of future Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger, and it doesn't seem like there is much of a plan, all right? So last year, you go out and you sign Russell Wilson. The guy you drafted is now disgruntled in Kenny Pickett. You ship him off for good value, I would say, to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then you end up going and signing Justin Fields. Russ gets injured in preseason. You throw in Justin Fields. He wins 4 games. And then what do? You bench him. And I get it. You told Russ he was going to be the starter. Then you get to the end of the year and you try to re-sign Justin Fields, and he doesn't want to re-sign with you. Oh, maybe that's because you benched him after having a 4-0 record. So yeah, he's going to go somewhere else. They also reportedly wouldn't guarantee him the starting position. So of course he's going to go to the Jets for the $30 million a year that they sent him. Absolutely. So now you've lost Fields. You obviously don't want Russ back because I feel like they would have re-signed him already. So now they're in this like purgatory of trying to acquire Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers is reportedly between the Giants and the Steelers, maybe Minnesota, but there's some that's just kind of awkward reporting. And what's Rodgers doing? He's walking the beach with a blanket and just contemplating life. Like, this is what the Steelers quarterback room has come to, is waiting for the drama of Aaron Rodgers to decide if he wants to be a Steeler or a Giant. That tells you everything you need to know about the state of the Steelers organization and what players actually think right now. What is going on?
What is going on? So we talked a little bit off the air about Aaron Rodgers and his kind of like desire to have the media be all on him. He doesn't want to be part of this. Yeah, he doesn't want to be part of the other drama. Like a lot of guys are going to sign yesterday, and there's going to be a few signings tomorrow, and they're all going to kind of get clumped in. And I think Aaron Rodgers is the kind of guy who doesn't want to get clumped in with a whole bunch of other starters.
Right.
Basketball is happening right now. Today's going to be all about the brackets, all about St. Paddy's Day. There's a lot of things going on. Aaron Rodgers wants a day to be about Aaron Rodgers. So I think we got a ways to go until the Aaron Rodgers domino falls. By the way, if you're deciding between the Steelers and the Giants as an organization, are you really like that serious to begin with? Have you paid attention to the Giants or any former Giants that come to mind that leave that organization and then go on to do great things? So the QB situation for the Steelers isn't great. Can I bring up a couple of names, free agents who are still out there, not named Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, who I think might be not plug and play, not long term, but also guys you don't go, well, I don't want to take a QB at 21 and I don't want to wait till round 3.
Please do. Give me some hope.
So some guys who are still available, unsigned, unrestricted free agents who have starting experience at the NFL level. Joe Flacco, okay, another old guy, but kind of stepped in for the Browns. Look, all right, fair. I'll just move on then. How about Jameis Winston, another former Brown that I knew that was coming? How about Drew Lock, another former knew that was coming? How about former Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley? Correct on that one. And then a guy I like coming out of Cincinnati who got a little bit of playing time down in Atlanta, didn't really have a great team around him, but I still like the 6'7" Desmond Ridder as a QB prospect. All right, across the board, 0 for 5.
I can't hit it fast enough.
Let's see. I have one trade target I mentioned last week, and
I like
Willis.
this one.
Yes.
I like this one.
Nobody's talking about this one. You heard it here first. And then we get down to the draft-eligible quarterbacks. Jackson Dart, way too early at pick 21. Did you hit a button?
No, I let it go. Go because I'm not, and I don't. I should, because I think that's way too high to draft Jackson Dart.
Agreed.
IP, I'm going to come to you in a second, because there was an article that came out over the weekend that says they're eyeing Jackson Dart at pick 21, and I'm thinking, this is Kenny Pickett all over again.
Which tells me, at this time of year, if you have a team coming out and saying, we are eyeing Jackson Dart at pick 21, that is 100%, that is 1,000% them saying, we have no interest in Jackson Dart at 21. We're hoping someone else jumps and takes him.
Yeah, no, and then Will Howard is also in that mix. And I get it. You don't have a second-round pick. So if you're
right.
in on Jackson Dart, Sure, you got to throw the dart in the first round. Yeah. I'm in control. Nope, I'm in control. So, but if not, you're waiting until Will Howard or, you mentioned Jalen Miller off the air. I think that's a great pick,
actually,
too.
I have a guy who's below Dart and above Milrow, who's kind of getting a little bit more talked about right now.
Yeah.
He's 25 years old. Spent some time as Justin Herbert's backup at Oregon. Obviously didn't play there. Went to Texas Tech. A lot of injury issues there. Transferred to Louisville. He's 25 years old. He's played one collegiate season. Tyler Shuck would probably be mentioned in the first round or among the top 3 quarterbacks available if he were 21 years old. The problem is the injury history and the age.
Yeah.
So Tyler Shuck on day 2, I think first round body talent wise, kind of 5th round tape, and again, the age has a lot to do with it. I think he's a 3rd round guy that the Steelers could legitimately plug and play and kind of have some actual hope as a rookie starter.
Now, I like that. And if you're missing, if you haven't heard yet, make sure you go check out the Draft Podcast on the Gem City Sports Network.
Thank you.
Hosted by our own Paul Adamczak, and he does great work looking at the upcoming draft and a lot of quarterback talk, and you just released your first mock draft too. So also part of the Gem City Sports Network, go back to the Thursday show, and IP had a great overreaction about Mason Rudolph. Isaac, do you have any, let me put it this way, all these names that we just threw out, that Paul just threw out as potential options for the Pittsburgh Steelers, are any of them better in your mind than Mason Rudolph?
Oh boy,
The silence is deafening.
I don't know. I mean, the answer is I really don't know, because again, all the quarterbacks that you mentioned, Paul, I think maybe minus Joe Flacco, are still somewhat unproven. And again, if you're going to sign Joe Flacco, you might as well sign Aaron Rodgers, because they're about the same talent level at this point with age. I would like to take a step back and take a look at the organization for a second, and maybe what this lack of a decision means for the Steelers organization. Mike Tomlin has been around a long time, right? He got hired in 2007. There's not a lot of things that he hasn't seen or hasn't had to deal with. But remember, when he came to the team in 2007, he had the quarterback in place. Ben Roethlisberger was there. He had come off a couple of seasons in which he had been tremendous, right? His rookie year, his Super Bowl year, whatever you want to consider. And then they win the Super Bowl shortly after he comes to Pittsburgh as head coach. But I would just say when you look at Mike Tomlin, the one thing that he hasn't really had to do is figure out the quarterback. And it is very clear that he has still not been able to figure it out. He still not has been able to get people surrounding him that knows how to figure it out. And I think, to me, this is an indication that the organization isn't sure how good they really are right now. I think if you believed you were a Super Bowl caliber team, you would have signed a quarterback, or you would have gone out and traded for a quarterback, or you would have taken a chance at a Sam Darnold, right, who had a career year last year. You would have done something to ensure yourself that you had the piece to be able to get you over the hump. And they haven't clearly done that. They haven't been able to find somebody to plug and play. So I think, to me, this is an indication that they don't believe they're close to winning a Super Bowl. They have a talented roster, but when you look at the AFC and how deep it is and how talented it is, do they really have the pieces to stack up against the rest of the conference? I don't know. No. I like the DK Metcalf trade, but maybe I'd be spending $30 million or $40 million on a solid quarterback than a solid receiver with no one to throw him the football.
And that's why I disagree with you. I think that they think they can win. I think they can plug in Aaron Rodgers, they can plug in Russell Wilson, they can plug in Mason Rudolph and still make a playoff run. And
I agree.
They can't. It is a loaded AFC. Right? We're not even talking about the NFC side of things, but you're talking about having to go through Buffalo. You're having to go through KC. You're going to have to go through Baltimore. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to go through Cincy. And those Baltimore and Cincy are in your division. I think that's the only thing that I would be on the other end of the conversation, IP, is that I think they do think they can win. That's why they're fine. They're saying, okay, and I think I've read the rumor, the holdup between the Giants and the Steelers with Rodgers is the Giants are going to pay him more money and the Steelers don't want to pay him that much. That's fine. And I agree. You shouldn't overpay for Aaron Rodgers at this point. So I think they're saying, okay, whether it's Mason Rudolph at $4 million per season or Aaron Rodgers at 33, I think they think that's a wash. They can take Mason Rudolph and go win playoff games. That's why they went and got DK Metcalf. That's why they're probably going to hand Watt an extension they probably shouldn't give him. So I think they do think they're in a position to go ahead and make this run, and that's scary because I don't think they should be.
Can we end with a little bit of a silver lining to this
Please
quarterback
do.
situation?
Give me some luck here on this.
Whoever you end up with at quarterback, as long as you don't see Skylar Thompson on the field next year, chalk it up as a W.
I don't know. At this point, I'm like, give me Skylar Thompson, and maybe
No.
we can get the first-round pick next year.
No, couldn't disagree with you more on that one, Nick.
I think the silver lining here is that this is going to put the Steelers in position to draft a pretty good quarterback in what's predicted to be a pretty good quarterback draft next year.
But can you out-tank teams with actually worse rosters? And that's a legitimate question.
No, because
the Steelers' defense is too good.
They're too
to
good.
tank.
Hey, quick promotions before we go. Fred Biletnikoff is in town in May. There's an autograph meet and greet Saturday, May 24th, 12 to 2 at Bullfrogs. Make sure you check out Eventbrite for tickets on that. Also, get in on our ESPN men's tournament bracket. That's it for us today. Erie, that's it. We're done. Have fun.
Are you running a small business with